Geeta, Hari Om. Would you like to chant
Hari.
the Dhyana?
Yes, ma'am. Hari Om.
Okay, go ahead.
Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Puranamunina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshini Bhagavati Ashtadashaധ്യായിനി अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणे नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा तुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलं गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटं नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः हरि ओम्
Hari Om, Dhanyavada. I would just like you all to confirm if my voice is coming through without an echo, because in the last week, I think we had a problem for the first few minutes, and also the recording when I heard, I found a lot of echo. So if it is not all right, I'm going to try and adjust the mic again. So can you just type out in the question session if you're able to hear? Okay, it's quite clear. Okay, fine. सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम्. From the 7th verse of 15th chapter, which we are currently looking at, Lord Krishna is pointing out that Brahman or Bhagavan alone is in everything. And two aspects of Bhagavan, which were mentioned in the 7th chapter of the Gita, we must remember. One is the consciousness principle and the other is matter principle, and these two put together is Bhagavan. And the entire creation is an expression, and these two principles only you see together as Bhagavan, right? So wherever you see changing matter, that should be understood as the material aspect of God called Apara Prakriti. We saw that in chapter 7, the term. The whole universe, which is material in nature, whether it is a microatom or a macro galaxy, they are all Apara Prakriti only. So whatever is changing material principle that we experience, that should be understood as Apara Prakriti, and our own body also comes under Apara Prakriti because it is material and changing in nature. Even mind comes under Apara Prakriti. It is a subtle form of matter and subject to change, and even our thoughts come under Apara Prakriti only. It is only the modification of the mind, right? So mind gets modified, the thoughts are formed, right? So it is subject to change. Thus anything changing should be understood as Apara Prakriti of that one God. And all these things, right, whatever is happening, they are all known by me, right? So me means here I, the experiencer or observer, who is not material in nature. I am the consciousness awareness principle, which is aware of the changes, but itself does not undergo any change. That consciousness principle, changeless principle, is to be known as Para Prakriti, right? So the observer is Para Prakriti, the observed is Apara Prakriti, the experiencer is Para, and the experienced is Apara. Other than the experiencer and the experienced, there is nothing else in this creation. And even if there are some things that are not experienced now, when they get experienced in the future, we will understand as what? Again, only Apara Prakriti. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, the whole creation is a mixture of both Para Prakriti, right, and Apara Prakriti. And Para Prakriti is available in the body as the experiencer, Jiva, right? And when Apara Prakriti is available as the experienceable universe, it is called Jagat. Thus, both Jiva and Jagat are nothing but my own expression only. That I am in the form of Jiva was discussed from 7th verse up to the 11th verse. I am in the form of Jagat was discussed from the 8th verse up to the 15th verse, which we completed in the last class. In the 14th verse, we saw Lord in the form of the Vaishvanara Agni in the stomach and the 4 types of food, Bhakshyam, Bhojyam, Lehyam, and Choshyam, right? Choshyam is what we saw. Bhakshyam, Bhojyam, Lehyam and Choshyam. Right? We saw that. Sarva, then after that in the 15th verse, Sarvasya Chaham Hridi Sannivishtaha. We saw that Lord Krishna says that through all the Vedas, I alone am to be known and I am the initiator of the Vedantic tradition. I am the knower of the Vedas also. He says, I am the one who started the Vedantic tradition. So we had completed 15th verse. So let's continue. Dvavimau purushau loke, Dvavimau purushau loke, Sharashchakshara eva cha, Sharashchakshara eva cha, Sharas sarvani bhutani, Sharas sarvani bhutani, Kutastokshara uchyate, Kutastokshara uchyate. The following three verses, 16, 17 and 18, Lord Krishna talks about his own nature in a slightly different format. When we learned, Swamiji doesn't use slides, right? So it's a little difficult to retain this in the mind. So anyway, wherever required, I put in a slide. So we'll come to that quickly. So here, Krishna is changing the format a little bit. In the 7th chapter beginning, Lord Krishna defined Bhagavan in a particular way. I hope we all remember that, para and apara prakriti, right? So if we recollect, Bhagavan was said to be a mixture of consciousness principle called para prakriti and matter principle called apara prakriti. And the entire universe is also a mixture of para and apara only. Changing is apara, changeless one is para. Now in this portion, he subdivides the apara prakriti, the matter principle itself, into two. Even though matter is only one, he subdivides that into two, and the matter principle available now in this creation in the form of the manifested manifold universe, Pancha Bhutani and Pancha Bhautika Prapancha, differentiated into a pluralistic form with varieties of things in one, is one form of apara prakriti. So which is the differentiated manifested universe which is experienceable, that is one form of apara prakriti. But the very same creation, before its origination, this creation was existent not in this form but in the form of a seed. Just as a tree, it grows from the roots and it comes up, and that root was what? It came from a seed. The seed alone expands, right? Similarly, Veda says the universe was never created by the Bhagavan. Universe already existed, but in seed form, potential form. In Dakshinamurti Stotram, there is a line there. Bijasyantari vankuro jagaditam pran nirvikalpam punaha. Just as the baby exists in the form of a fetus in the womb of the mother, right? And in that fetus version, we will not be able to see the features clearly. Similarly, this universe, apara prakriti, existed in seed form, and the seed form, there is of apara prakriti is the other type that is referred here by Bhagavan. So it is the same undifferentiated, the differentiated, variegated, manifested universe in the unmanifest form, which is referred to as the other part of apara prakriti. Both are apara prakriti. One is manifest, another is unmanifest. Therefore, Veda says one apara prakriti has two versions. One is manifest differentiated version and the other is unmanifest undifferentiated version. So, avyakta apara prakriti and vyakta apara prakriti, right? Just as in modern science also, matter has two versions, right? One is the matter version which is tangible and the other version which is energy. Energy is also a form of matter only. So matter is vyakta version, energy is avyakta version. So Veda says apara prakriti has also got vyakta and avyakta version. The vyakta version is called prapanchaha, avyakta version is called maya. Both are apara prakriti. The Vyakta version is called Prapancha and the Avyakta version is called Maya. Both are Apara Prakriti. Maya is also Apara Prakriti, Avyaktam, and world is Apara Prakriti, which is Vyaktam. Right? So, now we have 3 instead of 2. One is Vyakta Apara Prakriti, 2 is Avyakta Apara Prakriti, and 3 is Para Prakriti. So Krishna retains Para Prakriti only as 1, right? So these are the 3 aspects of one and the same God. In 7th chapter, he spoke about 2 versions. Now in the 15th chapter, he is talking about 3 versions. It is just the same thing put in a different way, right? So in brief, you can use this slide where I have explained. Sharapurushaha, manifest universe, is Vyakta Apara Prakriti. Akshara Purushaha is unmanifest universe. Maya, Avyakta Apara Prakriti. Uttama Purushaha is the consciousness principle. So Krishna presents the Para Prakriti as Uttama Purushaha, right? And Avyakta Apara Prakriti as Akshara Purushaha, right? Avyakta Apara Prakriti. And Vyakta Apara Prakriti as Shara Purushaha. So Shara Purushaha, Akshara Purushaha, and Uttama Purushaha. In English, manifest universe, unmanifest universe, and the consciousness principle which pervades and blesses both the manifest and unmanifest universe. So this is the division. Later, he will say the Uttama Purushaha, the consciousness principle alone is renamed by reversing the 2 words Uttama and Purushaha. And reversed becomes what? Purushottamaha. Therefore, this chapter is titled Purushottama Yogaha. So, which talks about the highest nature of Ishvara as the consciousness principle. So now in the shloka, Dva imau purushau loke. In this universe, there are 2 purushas, right? Purusha, you should remember that here it is referring to a totally different, it is not man, etc., right? Male, right? So one is Shara Purushaha here, other is Akshara Purushaha. So Shara Purushaha is Sarvani Bhutani Shara Purushaha Uchyate. So the manifest universe consisting of all the things, including all the physical bodies, they are called Shara Purushaha, right? Because they are subject to end afterwards, right? Because the manifest will become unmanifest. Therefore, they are called Shara Purushaha, right? And Kutastaha Akshara Uchyate. Kutastaha is name of the Avyakta Apara Prakriti. The Maya here is called Kutastaha because it is a mysterious entity. Kutaha means mysterious, deceptive, magical, right? So anything mysterious is called Kutaha, and Staha, which appears in the mysterious form. Like the blue sky is Kutastaha. It is experienceable by us, right? And mirage water is Kutastaha. So Maya is called Kutastaha because on inquiry it disappears. And we saw Narupamasyeva Tatopalabhyate Nanto Janadir Nacha Sampratishta. Kutastaha means Anirvachaniyam, deceptive, is called Maya, and that is called Akshara Purushaha because it is eternally present, right? So Nanto na Chadir na Sampratishta. Nantaha na Adihi, no beginning, no end, right? So Akshara Purushaha is Avyakta Apara Prakriti, right? So, and Maya, all these 3 words are synonymous, right? We must remember that. Now on this Kutastha, for those of you who are interested, others may just forget, okay? Just the next 2 minutes, whatever I'm explaining. For those of you who remember, right? And who have been familiar with Gita and who have sort of read other texts also. In the 12th chapter also, we came across Kutastha, okay? Class 74 for your reference. Yetvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatra gamachintyam cha Kutastham achalam dhruvam. Now the same Kutastha occurs in this mantra in 12th chapter. Now there is a difference if you compare that Kutastha with this Kutastha. There, the Kutastha is used to refer to the changeless, eternal Brahman. Here it is being referred, what is being referred here? It is changing eternal Maya. Right? So we must remember that Kutastha is used, in fact, in Panchadashi also, Vidyaranya uses that, right? Kutastha Chaitanyam is used to represent a changeless, eternal entity, Brahman, right? In this particular chapter, Shankaracharya writes an extensive Bhashyam here saying that here it is referring to the other meaning which is more suitable, which is Kutaha meaning Maya, and also you can interpret it as eternal changing principle. So the eternal being the common thing, right? So here it is representing Maya Tattvam, okay? So we must remember that only if you remember that you have come across this word earlier, you will have this confusion. So if you want to refer, it is in class 74. So the 12th chapter Kutastha refers to Brahman. Here it is referring to Maya Tattvam, because Kutastha itself has both the derivations, right? So very important, because Kutaha also means like an anvil, right, which is very strong, right, on which you hit that iron shutti, you say, no, iron hammer, right? So that is also, Kutaha represents that also, right? So we need to read the Bhashyam to understand these verses. Continuing. उत्तमपुरुषस्त्वन्यः उत्तमपुरुषस्त्वन्यः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः परमात्मेत्युदाहृतः यो लोकत्रयमाविश्य बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः बिभर्त्यव्यय ईश्वरः. So Shara Purushaha, we can roughly translate as manifest matter. So Akshara Purushaha is unmanifest, you can say energy. So therefore there are two things in this creation. Anything we experience is either matter or energy, right? So we always think the universe comprises of only this. Vedanta says there is a third thing which is different from matter also, which is different from energy also. Other than these two inert entities, there is a consciousness principle that does not come under matter, does not come under energy also. It is the witness of the changing matter and changing energy. So that consciousness is called Uttama Purushaha, the third one. Therefore, he says Uttama Purushaha tu Anyaha. So there is a third one other than both Shara and Akshara Purushaha, and Paramatma iti Udahritaha. That Uttama Purushaha alone is called Paramatma, otherwise called Brahman. And what is the job of that Uttama Purushaha? Yaha Lokatrayam Avishya. This Uttama Purusha pervades the entire creation and sustains all the matter and energy. Both Shara Purusha and Akshara Purusha are sustained by Uttama Purusha. So by lending three important things, Sat, Chit and Ananda, right? The Uttama Purusha lends these three fundamental things: existence, consciousness and Ananda, right? Real happiness. You can, if you're interested to understand why Ananda, how Ananda, etc., we need to go to the Upanishads, Taittiriya Upanishad, Maitreya Brahmanam in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. All of these talk about it, right? So the sentiency for the body, right, if you see, is also not intrinsic to the body, just like it is not intrinsic to the world. It is all only matter. Even your body is made up of only matter. However, it is sentient because of consciousness, and I give that consciousness to the world. Not merely existence and consciousness. Wherever there is happiness in any mind, that happiness in the mind also does not belong to the mind. That also belongs only to me. So elaborate discussion on this aspect in Brahma Sutra also, right? Once you get past all the Upanishads and then, get to more advanced and dedicated study, you can get to Brahma Sutra, where all these are analyzed extensively, right? So the Ananda also does not belong to Shara Purushaha. It does not belong to Akshara Purushaha. It belongs to Uttama Purushaha, and that is why it is defined as Satchidananda Brahma, right? All of these are elaborated in the Upanishads, as I said. Therefore, Lokatrayam Avishya, that Paramatma is not subject to change, it sustains, right? Bibharti means sustains, right? Avyayaha, right? And that Paramatma itself, who is sustaining the Lokatrayam, right, is not subject to change. Matter changes into energy, energy changes into matter. They are continuously changing, but the consciousness itself is not subject to any change. Therefore, it is Avyayaha. Remembering the second chapter of the Gita, Najayate mriyate va kadachit Nyayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyaha Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puranaha na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Najayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavitavana bhuyaha. We saw that in the chapter 2. That is called Ishvara, which is the Paramatma, which is the consciousness, also known as Atma, Brahman, right? The higher nature. Continuing. Yasmaksharamatiitoham aksharaadapi chottamaha atosmi loke vede cha pratita purushottamah Of these three Purushas, matter, energy and consciousness, which one is the superior most? If you ask, Lord Krishna says, Uttama Purushaha, the consciousness principle alone is the superior most. Even though matter is important, energy is important, still consciousness is considered superior because consciousness exists independently, whereas the other two are dependent upon the consciousness principle. Therefore, Shara and Akshara Purusha are called dependent principles, exactly like the relationship between clay and pot, right? Or gold ornaments and gold. Basically, the pot cannot exist without the clay. Similarly, Shara Purushaha is useful, Akshara Purushaha is useful, but both of them are existing because of Uttama Purusha only. Therefore, Uttama Purusha is Satyam. Shara Akshara Purusha are termed Mithya. Right? Satyam is superior to Mithya. Mithya, the English translation is seemingly existent. Right? Therefore, he says, yes, Yasmat Aham Sharam Atitaha. Right? Aham here means Uttama Purushaha. I am superior to Shara because I lend existence to that. And Aksharadapi Ucha Uttamaha. I am superior to Akshara Purusha, the unmanifest Maya or energy also, because I lend existence to both of them. Therefore, Ataha Asmi Lokecha Vedecha. Both in the world, in the secular world, as well as the Shastric world, Aham Pratitaha. I am known as Purushottamaha, the greatest one, the superior most one. So here Krishna is reversing Uttama Purusha into Purushottamaha. Therefore, the word Purushottamaha here refers to consciousness principle. Yo mamevamasammudah janati purushottamam sasarva vidbhajati mam sarva bhavena bharata sarvabhavena bharata. Therefore, the goal of spirituality and spiritual sadhana is recognizing the Uttama Purusha, the Chaitanyam which is all pervading, and also recognizing the same Chaitanyam in my own body, and later finally claiming that the Chaitanyam is not in the body, but that Chaitanyam is I myself who am aware of the body. Thus knowing the Uttama Purusha is the goal of the life. Shara Purusha knowledge is important. Akshara Purusha knowledge is important. But Uttama Purusha alone is the most important. What is the reason? Because Shara and Akshara are subject to change all the time. They are both not stable, right? And they are subject to change all the time, and whatever is unstable cannot give security. So the world has got beauty, novelty, right? And variety, but it can never give stability, right? The example I gave is having a beautiful decorated cardboard chair in the Golu or in the Navaratri, right? You can't sit on it, right? So it is, the world is like that. You cannot lean on it for security, right? So therefore Krishna says, Yaha Mam Janati, the one who knows me, the Uttama Purusha, the changeless Atma, Purushottama, and Asammudaha, one who is not deluded, right? Expecting security from the insecure world is delusion. Leaning on the unleanable, right? Like relying on all the unstable things in life, right? We don't know when what will happen, right? So leaning on Kshara Akshara Purusha is converting life into a gamble, right? Never do that. Rely on Bhagavan Purushottama. Such a person who relies on Bhagavan Purushottama is an undeluded person. So Asammudaha, the undeluded person, Asammudaha, Mam Purushottamam Janati Sa Sarvavid Bhavati. He is the knower of everything. He knows all the three Shara, Akshara, and Uttama Purushaha. And not only is that, he is the greatest Bhakta also. He comes under the Jnani Bhakta category of the 7th chapter, right? So, if we try to remember all the chapters and connect, because now we are in the 15th chapter, it will be very, very useful. We saw in the 7th chapter, Artha Bhakta, Artharthi Bhakta, Jignasu Bhakta, and Jnani Bhakta. So this person becomes Jnani Bhakta or Advaita Bhakta. Therefore, Sarva Bhavena, wholeheartedly, totally, without a division between the Lord and himself. He comes from the Dasoham Bhakti to Soham Bhakti, and therefore he is the greatest devotee, right? Now concluding, Krishna says, Iti guhyatamam shastram, iti guhyatamam shastram, idamuktam maya naga, idamuktam maya naga, etad buddha buddhiman syat, etad buddhva buddhiman syat, kritakrityascha bharata, kritakrityascha bharata. Hey Arjuna, the pure one, Agham means Papam and Anagha means Punyam. Punyavan, oh fortunate one. Hey Arjuna, Guhyatamam Shastram Idam Muktam. The teaching that was given in this particular chapter 15 is the secret essence of all the scriptures, especially the Vedanta. It is the greatest secret which covers the whole universe of Shara Akshara, Uttama Purusha, and Akshara Purusha. Shara and Akshara Purusha and Uttama Purusha. So, Guhyatamam Shastram, the greatest secret. In the 9th chapter, Krishna uses the word what? Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. Idam Uktam Mayanaga Etad Buddhva. By studying this through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, Buddhiman Syat, may you become a wise person, right? So may you become Buddhiman. Krishna has said in the 2nd chapter itself, right? What is the benefit of becoming a Jnani? Lord Krishna said in the second chapter, Ashoshyanan bachoshastvam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasuna gatasumcha nanushocanti panditaha. The greatest advantage of the Vedantic wisdom is elimination of worry. Gatasuna gatasumcha nanushocanti panditaha. Worry, right? Destroyer is jnanam or self-knowledge, right? So therefore, may you become wise and get out of anxiety, worry, fear, etc. This is called samsara. And not only that, you will be free from samsara. Kritakrityascha bharata. Kritakrityaha means your life's mission is fulfilled. You do any other thing in life, fulfillment will never come. But always I look for something else for fulfillment. Anything else I do, right? The struggle in life will never end, but for this one knowledge, which makes me feel full, right? Kritakritya means totally satisfied with yourself and at ease. So instead of working for fullness, which is samsara, working with fullness is called moksha. Therefore, Arjuna, may you assimilate this teaching. And so with this beautiful, short and very sweet chapter, the 15th chapter is complete. The teaching is very, very precise and in a capsule form in 20 verses. And the interesting thing that Shankaracharya notes here is, he says this kritakrityaha, right, is a word which is very important. How does he know when he writes the Bhashyam that this is what it means, that it is referring to the Brahma Jnanam, which is, going to result in a fulfilled person, right, a wise person. How does he know that? He writes in his Bhashyam, and in fact, it is very surprising that he quotes from two different places, right, about this Kritakrityam. So he quotes one verse from the 4th chapter. I think it is the 33rd verse or something he quotes. And then he also says that in Manusmriti, in the 12th chapter, 93rd verse, this Kritakrityaha is used. So the term used there is Kritakritya Dvijaha, means twice. And especially he says, if a person claims that he is a Brahmin, whether by birth Guna Brahmana, right, more than Jati Brahmana, Guna Brahmana, then his life's mission is achieved only by Atma Jnanam, and this sense of fulfillment, Kritakritya, is achieved. So in Shankaracharya quotes the Manusmriti, 12th chapter, 93rd verse, to say that even for Grihasthas, because Manusmriti is very much Karmakanda. At the end of the Karmakanda, Manu himself says this, saying that you can, after completing all the karmas in the later ashramas, you can renounce karma and you can focus on Jnana Yoga and get Atma Jnanam and feel fulfilled. The amazing thing is Shankaracharya, without any of these Google or computer or anything, was able to remember the exact word and the exact verse where it is taken from, right? So subsequently in Manusmriti also it is referred the same thing. Very interesting portion. So I thought, okay, let me pick this up from the Bhashyam and tell you. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu. Iti Shrimad Bhagavad Gitasu. Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashodhyayah. Purushottama Yogo Nama Panchadashodhyayah. So I will briefly give you a summary because this was anyway a very short chapter. So the 15th chapter, titled Purushottama Yoga, as I said, is a very small chapter of only 20 verses, but still Bhagavan presents the entire Shastric teaching in it, right? And this is considered one of the very, very important chapters of the Gita. And as I said, it is also in the tradition in Arshavidya Gurukulam and Dayananda Saraswati's Parampara that during lunch or dinner or breakfast, after the food is just after people sit and the food is going to be served, it is traditional or customary to chant Purushottama Yoga. So the first topic is in the first 3 verses. Lord Krishna gives a description of this vast universe, Prapancha Varnanam, by comparing this universe to a huge Ashwattha Vriksha, and several features of the universe are presented. Firstly, when you look at a particular Ashwattha Vriksha as an individual tree, it has a beginning, but still this tree is part of a flowing series, because every tree is preceded by a particular seed from which it comes, and every tree gives birth to the seed which becomes the cause for the next tree. So thus any tree including Ashwattha Vriksha is in the form of a pravaha or a flow, a series in the form of seed, tree, seed, etc. Right? It's a series. So even though for the individual tree we can trace the beginning, the series is beginningless, right? And similarly here also the pravaha is nityam, the series is eternal. In the same way, the universe, as the current universe, has a beginning and end, Srishti and Pralayam, right? The current universe also has that, but the current universe has come into existence because of the karmas of all the jivas and infinite punya papa karma, which becomes the cause of the next universe. Thus, every universe is preceded by a bunch of karma and followed by a bunch of karma, and there is a anadi karma flow, universe flow or series, right? So you can never trace the very beginning and the end. So it is a beginningless, endless series. Every member of the universe has a beginning, but the karma, right, that does not, the series does not have a beginning. Therefore, Ashwattham is also Avyayam and Prapancham is also Avyayam. It is an eternal series. This is feature 1. The second feature is, just as the Ashwatha tree is a huge tree, right, with many branches up and down, the huge trunk. Similarly, the universe also is an infinitely vast tree-like thing, and this universal tree has branches up and down, 14 lokas, right? They form the huge branches of the tree. Therefore, spatially also it is infinite. Time-wise also it is infinite. And this universal tree has got 2 causes, right? The first cause is the general cause in the form of Ishvara, right? Or Bhagavan is the Samanya Karanam, right? And who has the omniscience, omnipotence, etc. And there is a second Karanam, Vishesha Karanam, which is the individual Jiva's Punya Papa Karma, right? In the previous Srishti, it has got acquired. So the series is just continuing, right? So they have infinite Sanchita Karma. This karma of the Jiva becomes the blueprint for the Bhagavan to decide the next Srishti. And in the next Srishti, all the Jivas, they do not keep quiet, right? They continue to perform actions because of their guna, sattva, rajas and tamo guna. So they will accumulate punya and papam, right? And so based on that, there will be vasanas, and then there will be the prarabdha karma, the agami karma, which will also go and add up to the sanchita karma. So infinite karmani will become the blueprint for the next srishti. Thus jiva collectively becomes vishesha karanam, all the jivas. Samanya karanam is Ishvara, right? So it is basically a kind of a joint venture, if you may say so. So the creation itself is because of both these factors, right? And thus the universe has got 2 karanams. And just as the cause of the tree, the supporter of the tree in the form of the root is not visible because roots are under the ground and therefore they are invisible. Similarly, Ishvara, the root of this universe, Urdhva Moolam Ishwaram, also is root, like the root of the tree. Ishvara is also invisible, right? Though root is invisible, we know there is a root. Similarly, Ishvara is invisible, but Samanya Karanam. So the next important feature is when a person tries to understand the universe and inquire into the nature of the universe, it becomes a mystery, right? So you start inquiring, probing more and more, it'll just go on to molecule, atomic particle, subatomic particle, like that. But finally, it turns out to be a mystery. That is why it is called Maya, right? So, Narupam asyeva tatopalabhyate. Universe is Maya, indescribable, right? So, up to this, Lord Krishna gives the description of the universe and then points out that even though this universe is wonderful and vast, this has got continuous change, right? Because it is changing all the time. World has got beauty, variety and novelty, but it does not have stability, right? So if you rely upon the world for your emotional stability, you will have a problem, right? So it can cause anxiety, worry, fear, pain, depression, right? So all the problems of samsara we saw in the first chapter of the Gita. Arjuna emotionally was dependent on Bhishma, Drona, etc. And the very thought of their death disturbed, right? Arjuna, they had not even died, right? So Raga, Shoka and Moha, all human problems are due to emotional dependence on the undependable world, and this is what is called samsara. So thus the universe becomes a cause for samsara, right, by being an object of attachment or emotional dependence. So universe by itself does not cause samsara, right? Because so many people die, those things don't bother us. Only when people with whom we have attachment die, then we have a problem, right? So death by itself is not the cause of the problem, but when someone who is near and dear goes, that is when we have the problem. So my attachment is the cause of the problem and not death as an event, not loss as an event. No object or event is the cause of the problem. One has to diagnose this, and once a person has diagnosed the problem of samsara, the way out is available in the scriptures. It's given by the scriptures. So therefore, the second topic is the means of crossing the samsara, the means of crossing this. So that's the second topic from verses 3 to 6. So first one was Prapancha Varnanam, second is Samsara Nivritti Upayaha. So 4 exercises or discipline or methods are presented. The first one is, since the emotional dependence on the world is the problem, gradually learn to detach yourself from emotional dependence. Use the world to serve and care, but never use the world for emotional dependence. So serve the world and grow within yourself and grow out of the world. Serve, grow and grow. So the first discipline is Vairagyam or emotional detachment. And when I withdraw my dependence from the world, I need some other support, right? Krishna says, switch over from world dependence to God dependence, right? So you have an Ishta Devata. We have such a large collection of Devatas, Rama, Devi, Balaji, Ayyappa, etc. Choose anyone, right? God is just one, but represented in different forms, right? So, and then you lean on this God first, right? From world dependence, move to God dependence, right? And Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupasate. In chapter 9 we saw, right? So first thing is switch from world dependence to God dependence, which is vairagyam, right? And of course the journey is from God dependence to atma dependence, which is self dependence. Okay, the second one means here it is sharanagati, which is dependence on God, right? So Sharanagati is the second one. Tameva sadhyam purusham prapadye, right? So first important exercise is to switch over from world dependence to God dependence, right? So that's the second one we saw. And then the third exercise Krishna provided was virtues, sadgunaha, which are required. We saw in the 13th chapter, 20 of these virtues were mentioned. Krishna reminds us here, Nirmana moha jitasanga doshaha adhyatma nitya vinivritta kamaha dvandvair vimuktaha sukha dukkha sanyaihi gacchantya moodaha padamavyayam tat. So here he only gives a brief reference because the details are there in the 13th chapter, and we are also going to get Daivi Sampath in the 16th chapter, right? So therefore, nourish healthy values. This is the third discipline, which takes a very long time. Vairagyam, Sharanagati, and then Sadguna. And these three are only supportive sadhanani. They themselves cannot solve the problem of samsara. The fourth one is the medicine. And that medicine is Ishvara Vicharaha with the help of Shastra Pramanam, right? So Krishna uses the word Tat Padam, Tatapadam, Tat Parimargitavyam. Padam means the base of the universe, right? Ishvara is the base, Paramargitavyam meaning Vicharayitvam, which is nothing but Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam, right? Called Jnana Yoga, right? It's not an optional means. We can be bhaktas, but ultimately we have to go through a consistent and systematic study of minimum Bhagavad Gita comprehensively. This is called Jnana Yoga. And once a person goes through these four disciplines, right, then he will attain me, right? Ishvara. He will attain moksha. Yadgatva na nivartante taddama paramam mama, and then na tadvasayate suryaha na shashanko na pavakaha, right? So this is the sadhana from verses 3 to 6, and there the nature of Brahman was defined as consciousness, Chaitanya Tattvam, which enlivens all the bodies, right? So it was called Chaitanyam, and Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. One will merge into this Brahman. So this was topic number 2, right? So the topic number 3 is this one Brahman alone is existing in the form of everything. Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat, right? So in the 4th chapter, there is a well-known verse, right? Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagno Brahmanahutam. So Krishna wants to say that Brahman, and here Krishna identifies himself as that Brahman. Therefore, instead of saying Brahman, he says I alone am in the form of everything. And he explains one version of Brahman becomes everything with the help of the power called Maya, right? If Brahman has to appear as everything, that power to appear as everything is called Brahma Shaktihi or Maya Shaktihi, right? Or in the 7th chapter, Apara Prakriti. So I appear in the form of the universe, and since Maya Shakti is like energy, it is inert in nature, right? The inert universe is nothing but an expression, right, of energy, Maya Shakti, right? Maya Shakti of Bhagavan is the one that appears as time and space, Panchabhutani, and the 14 lokas, right? The entire material universe, right, is from my own power called Maya, right? So the inorganic matter and organic matter, body, mind complex, everything is Maya alone, right? And Maya can't do any transaction, right? The inert universe cannot do any transaction, right? If whenever you experience anything sentient, it is the Jiva which is blessed by the Brahman, the all-pervading consciousness through which I am able to discern the world. So the body-mind complex becomes sentient only because of this Brahman, which is the all-pervading consciousness. And we also saw the all-pervading consciousness which becomes available in the body-mind complex as a enclosed consciousness, exactly like outer space and pot space. I gave you that example. So thus Maya becomes Jagat, Brahman becomes Jiva, right? Or Brahman becomes the sentiency behind Maya Tattvam, right? So I am experience everything here. Therefore, I am the experiencer. Therefore, that is the expression of Brahman as an experiencer. So Brahman because Chaitanya Tattvam, right? And that Chaitanya Tattvam is always associated only with Brahman, right? And he also says, I am also the Ishvara, right? So the conscious principle along with the world is Ishvara, right? Thus everything is Sarvam Brahmamayam only, right? So this was the famous shloka Nirmana Moha. So the topic 3 was basically from verses 7 to 11, and Krishna says, I alone am in the form of Jivaha, Mamaivamsho Jivaloke, Jivabhuta Sanatanaha. I alone am in the form of Jiva, and its presence is proven every moment. What is the proof, right? So it's exactly like you go to a neighbor's house and you're seeing the lights and fans all running, right? And the lights there. And then you ask, do you have power in the house, right? So it's exactly like that. The very fact that you are able to discern people, etc., right? Animals, etc., is the very proof for consciousness or Brahman, right? So very, very important aspect here. And Vimudaha na anupashyanti. The fools don't discern this, he said, Lord Krishna here, right? So, in fact, our prayers, the very consciousness in the body, we treat as God, right? Chidrupi Paradevata Bhagavati Shiraja Rajeshwari, right? We have so many shlokas, right? The idea is for us to discern that consciousness itself as Ishvara, right? So, in the form of Chaitanyam, God or goddesses everywhere, right? So this is from verse 7 to 11, and also we saw here that at the time of death, death also proves that the consciousness is there. How? Because the same body-mind complex which was alive at the time of death, what is different, right? It is that consciousness principle along with the Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram, which has the Chidabhasa, which has left the body. So that is also a proof enough or good enough for discerning the consciousness presence, right, of Jiva in the body, right? So topics 1, 2, and 3 I discussed now elaborately. Then from the 12th to the 15th verse, Krishna shows how the Jagat also is an expression of the Lord. Very beautiful shloka on, I also explained the Kathopanishad and the Mundaka Upanishad mantra on Natatra Suryo Bhatina Chandra Tarakam. The light in the sun, the moon, and in the fire is the Lord only. In the form of the sunlight and moonlight, the Lord alone sustains all living beings. As the digestive fire, Vaishwanar Agni, it is the Lord who digests the food. The Lord alone is behind all the mental faculties of knowledge, memory, etc. He is the author and the content also of the Vedas, right? So we saw this from the 12th to the 15th verse. And thus Krishna reveals that Brahman alone is in the form of Jiva and Jagat. Hence, reaching Brahman means is in the form of understanding that Brahman is never away from either oneself or the universe. In the next 3 verses that we actually saw today, Bhagavan reveals Brahman in its true nature, Brahman in the form of the manifest universe called Kshara Purusha, as the unmanifest universe Maya. The same Brahman is called Akshara Purusha and Uttama Purusha or Purushottama, the consciousness principle, the supreme Brahman, right? Then concluding the teaching, Krishna glorifies this knowledge as the means of fulfillment. With an undiluted mind, the one who knows this secret knowledge of Purushottama becomes the knower of all and a jnani, and he is able to he's able to attain a sense of fulfillment, kritakritya, right? So this is the 15th chapter summary in brief. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are some questions. And please note that next Sunday we will not be having a class. 17 January 2021. Next Sunday, I should have removed 10th from here. 24th, we will start the 16th chapter. There are some questions. One second, let me just look at it. The Lokatrayam, very interesting question. What are the three worlds referred here, right? Now, this is something that I refer to the Bhashyam, and subsequent acharyas in the Shankaracharya Parampara have also given very different explanations. Shankaracharya Bhashyam gives it as Bhu Bhuvaha Suvaha. That is one explanation. Whereas if you see Madhusudana Saraswati treats it as the Jagrita Avastha, Jagrat Prapancha, Swapna Prapancha, and Sushupti, that Prapancha, right? So there are different interpretations to this, but in general, it is the lokas or the avasthas in which the jiva is experiencing all the karma phalas. So I thought for this class, it was not needed to bring in all the bhashyams. So there is this interpretation difference for the three worlds. If you're interested, you can see, yeah, I think all the bhashyams are available in the Sringeri website. You can take a look at what Madhusudana Saraswati, not Madhusudana Saraswati, Anandagiri. Anandagiri Tika gives one and Shankaracharya gives another explanation. Okay. Yeah, somebody has asked during death, right? When somebody has lost a father or some very close one in the family, which parts of the Gita to read during this period? Generally, before the person passes away, and if you know that the person would like something to be chanted, we generally chant any of the shlokas plus specifically 8th chapter of the Gita, because Krishna says that even in the last moment, if you remember me, there are some phalams and all, etc. for that. So that is one. Otherwise, generally, you can chant Gita, any of the Jnana Yoga chapters or even the Karma Yoga chapters. There is no restriction. It's a very nice thing to do. So people also chant Vishnu Sahasranama. So any of these are fine. Any other questions? Let me just see if anybody has raised the hand. No, nobody has raised the hand. So Hari Om, happy Shankranti, Shankranti Shubhashayaha. So next week 17th there is no class. So we will meet on 24th January and we will start with 16th chapter.